with each and every one of you. And I know tonight we have guests that are really looking at the EMSquared project for the first time. And tonight the purpose of this is to really give you a 30,000-foot perspective of a movement that we're all championing, and the real passion behind that movement and the cause is to end malnutrition around the world. The EMSquared is eradicate malnutrition by squaring the efforts of people. And if you, like me, I think all of us have had examples of the power of people and what we can do by using our influence in the marketplace. And so what we have done is we have combined the power of people with technology to create really social entrepreneurship 3.0, which you're going to learn about this evening. And I can just tell you briefly my story. When I first heard about this vision of this amazing project, it started with the story of President Fox, really calling and creating a collaboration of some pioneers behind social entrepreneurship and some of the brightest minds in the world. And tonight what I want you all to do is just sit back and really hear the story of the EMSquared project and the power of the Hope Bar, the first standardized whole food bar that we're going to be delivering to literally millions of kids around the world with your help and with your effort. And so, what we want to do tonight is just kind of take you through the story, but I think that there's not a better person in the world to share with you the vision and the mission behind the EMSquared project, because I truly believe this was his calling and mission from over 15 years ago. And he's not speaking about this from theory. It's an individual that when I met him, my first question was, I've heard about a lot of people feeding kids. How is this project going to be different, number one? And number two, is Sam really congruent to this story? And my dad used to always tell me for years and years, proof is always in the pudding, right? And what would amaze me is that, this project and collaboration is really an evolvement of what's taking place in the market today. And it's really making doing good in the world relevant by using today's technology and today's strategies to really impact our planet and impact malnutrition around the world. And so my first question is, I just want to learn a little bit more about him. And when I learned that over the last decade or 15 years, he's already sent out over 80 million servings of food to kids around the world, I knew he wasn't speaking about this epidemic and the solution that we had from theory. It's been a passion of his that's kept him up late and woke him up very, very early. And so our vision with this project is simply to end malnutrition around the world. And the mission is really to connect and educate and empower a worldwide movement of passionate and compassionate people to eliminate childhood malnutrition through fostering the education of social entrepreneurship. And tonight, hopefully, you're going to get a real understanding of the power of social entrepreneurship and our ability to foster the education by doing it with this platform. So without any further ado, Sam, if you could come on and share with us the backstory and the next 10 to 15 minutes, kind of share with us where this entire vision and mission started for you. And just want to tell you, thank you so much for being on the call with us.
Well, thanks, Brian, and it's great to have everybody on the call. I know that there's a lot of people that have brought guests on. We're still just a little under a week away from our pre-launch strategy for launching this. But, over the last several weeks, we've been sharing the story over and over, and the numbers of people on these calls have grown exponentially. And so let me just tell you from my perspective that, in 1994, I started a research and development company in nutrition science. And I really believed that there was more to that than just the business of nutritional supplementation. But in 1997, I was working with an orphanage organization out of Romania, and the caregivers had come to America and talked with a group of us who had made some financial contributions and said, it's just really heartbreaking to see what's going on with our kids. They're sick, and we lose 30 to 40 kids a year. And at that very moment, I knew that what I did could be connected in a very dramatic way to the needs of those children. So, I went up to the caregiver afterwards, and I just shared our passion for fatherless children and the solution that we felt that we had for helping their kids. Because everything she talked about was a malnutrition-related issue. And malnutrition kills more kids in the world than everything else put together. So, of course, they were glad to hear that we had a solution. We gave it to them for a year. At the end of the year, they came back with just an incredible report, how healthy their kids were and have become over the last year. And then she said, but for the first time in over a decade, none of our children died. And that was like the epiphany for me in my life. At that very moment, I knew that everything that I had done my whole life had led me to that point and that problem, and that I could provide a solution that could impact millions of kids around the world. And that's just what I felt like. So I did the only thing I knew to do at the time. And, I read an article in Inc. magazine not too long ago. It says, if you want to do good, start a charity. If you want to make money, start a business. Well, that's all that I knew, so I started a charity, and it was called Manna Relief. And just like every other charity, we started raising money, buying product, and sending it to orphanage organizations and urban feeding centers all over the world. And in the next, 15 years, we, as Brian said, sent out over 80 million daily servings of whole food nutrition to kids in over 85 countries around the world. So, we felt we were doing all that we could. We felt that it was pretty productive. But I was running a full-time business in addition to trying to run a charity. And then 2008 happened. And that's when the global economy took a major hit. And I read one article that said the economy is not going through a glitch, it's going through a shift. Another book I read called it The End of Charity, that in the 21st century, because of the shift of the economy in the world, that the charity model would never, ever again be a sustainable model for bringing change to global problems. And so, I started looking for resolutions to that problem, because over the next year and a half, we probably lost 70% of our donor base, which is consistent with a lot of other not-for-profits that we were teamed up with all over the world. In every country or region of the world where we deliver product, we have a distribution partner. And that partner has the infrastructure to reach the most vulnerable kids within that region. And so, all these organizations took a tremendous hit. In 2010, I read an article that somebody sent me, and it was entitled, Can Entrepreneurs Save the World? And it was all about this revolutionary new business model called social entrepreneurship, and how entrepreneurs were coming into the marketplace with ideas and technologies that could change the world, and were dedicating themselves to those causes. And they were using the marketplace to create sustainability for their projects. And I thought, what an incredible model. I mean, it's exactly what I wanted to do. I was good at doing business, but I was passionate about saving children. And why not combine those two things together? And, of course, I had seen the Tom Shoes model because I've got young kids, and they all had Tom Shoes, and they told me all about that. And the more I read, the more I realized that that was the model that would create the best sustainable impact on trying to meet the needs of these malnourished children. Well, I started really looking at the model and trying to figure it out. My partner, distribution partner in Mexico, was the former president of Mexico, Vicente Fox, and his wife, Marta. Just a great couple, very passionate about children in their country. And as I talked about it with President Fox, he said, oh yeah, social enterprise, that's major. That's happening all over the world. Most sought after curriculum in university business schools today. And he said, I'm very familiar with how it all evolved from a man named Mohammed Yunus from Bangladesh, who created the concept of microfinance, putting impoverished people into business with small loans. And he said, yeah, that would be a wonderful thing to try to tap into for what you're doing. And then last summer he called me and he said, look, I'm going to host the first conference on social enterprise, social entrepreneurship in Latin America. And I'm going to invite Mohammed Yunus, who won the Nobel Prize in 2006, for the creation of the Grameen Bank and Microfinance. And he said, I think I'm going to invite about 700 people, people from industry, people from academia, people from education, people from NGOs to not-for-profits to manufacturers, because I think, we can find compassionate people who can collaborate on big projects to bring change to the world's biggest problems. And so I went down to the conference and listened to Muhammad Yunus, and what an inspiring speaker he is, and just a world of knowledge about how this model is supposed to work. But here's what was really interesting. He said the first business that we created in Bangladesh was a business designed to solve malnutrition in our most vulnerable kids. And I thought, gosh, it's perfect. I want to hear this story. And he said, we teamed up with Dannon Yogurt. They became our manufacturing partner. We made these little yogurt cups, enriched them with vitamins, and made them economical enough that the poorest of the poor could afford them. And then we put them in retail stores, and absolutely nothing happened. And he said, then it finally occurred to us that you can't change status quo through a passive activity like retailing. You got to go straight to the heart of the problem. So he said, we went out into the villages of Bangladesh and we enlisted village moms. These are people that needed opportunity. These were ladies whose children were exposed to the very thing that we were trying to bring a solution to. And we enlisted them and rewarded them financially for telling our story about how it could change the lives of the children in the villages and the simple solution that we had created. And he said that it just exploded. And after the conference, President Fox brought myself and Muhammad Yunus together, and he said, I love that story. That's our passion too, taking care of malnourished children. It's Sam's passion. What I'd like to do is create a collaboration that could take what you did in Bangladesh and multiply it worldwide. In other words, what if we could connect these village moms from all over the world, compassionate people who want to make a change in the world and have a passion for children? What if we could link them all together and use the marketplace, as a stimulus for funding an activity that could actually eradicate malnutrition in the world? And that was last summer. And so I started thinking about it and working on it and being introduced to different collaboration partners that President Fox had pulled together. And in March of this year, we officially launched the EMSquared project. It's headed by President Fox. We have a distribution partner that he introduced us to, a manufacturing partner in Mexico that is willing to make these whole food bars for us for a fraction of the cost that we could buy them for anyplace else, and the same quality, because they have a heart and a passion to be a part of this world-changing concept. We found a technology partner that could, bring the platform and the business down to the lowest common denominator, which is like a phone app and a web app that could be used by anybody in the world who wants to be connected and connect others, to this EMSquared project. And then we started taking, interested people to Mexico, letting them meet President Fox, touring some of the orphanages, hearing the stories of what an impact whole food nutrition makes on children's lives. And I'll just close with this, Brian. What makes this so unique is in the relief industry, all relief agencies use the absolute least expensive food ingredients that you can find so that they can make the biggest impact on the largest number of people. And that's just because the charity model dictates that model of distribution. But in social entrepreneurship, when you link to the marketplace, you no longer have to use the least, you can use the best. And so what we're looking at is providing children with the absolute most scientifically advanced whole food nutritional components that radically impact their lives. So that's the project, and we are so excited about introducing it and kicking it off this coming week.
No, I know phase one is going to be exciting as we kick off the phase one pilot program next week. And, the goal there is really to make sure that we prove the model, that we feed and help educate the world on social entrepreneurship. And, as we've been collaborating on this project for a while, Sam, I know that for a lot of people, we want to kind of give them an understanding of how we can do this. And one of the differentiators that we have is our collaboration and partnerships, our distribution partners and manufacturing partners, which allows us to be able to use our strategy, our one-for-one strategy. Buy one and two people get fed, whether it's you and a child, or you can donate yours, give yours, and feed two children. But if you could stay on with us for the next 10 or 15 minutes, and if you could just expand a couple minutes on, how we're able to take such a rich nutritional bar, but be able to manufacture two and still be able to reward the social entrepreneurships that are out there driving this movement and creating this goodness in the world.
Well, when we were at the conference last summer, Muhammad Yunus said you're going to need a manufacturing partner, because if you're going to be competitive at the retail price range for bars in developed world nations and give one away of equal value and reward your international group of compassionate people, you got to have somebody who's got skin in the game, who really wants to be a part of it, doesn't want to run typical wholesale manufacturing profits. And President Fox said, I got just the guy. He's coming tonight to the banquet, Sam. You're going to sit next to him. And it was a wonderful guy. He's one of the largest manufacturers of food products. He sends them to America, and his passion was for the poor. He had developed the largest food bank in Latin America. So he already had this passion for feeding the poor. And when I talked to him about malnutrition and linking people worldwide, he said, count me in. I'll make these bars for no profit so that you can run your model. Now, what that enables us to do is we can take a whole food product that is standardized with vitamins and minerals from whole food sources, not synthetic, which is unique in the marketplace, and we can sell it for what just a whole food bar would cost. So the added value is this standardized nutritional content. So it's like getting a dietary supplement made of whole food ingredients in a whole food bar. And that's just incredible value to people. But again, the good news is we give a child exactly that same quality of product. From a distribution standpoint, Brian, I've spent the last 15 years developing, a distribution network worldwide of people just like the Foxes in countries all over the world. Sometimes, like in Guatemala, it's the largest church in Guatemala City. It's Casa de Dios and Pastor Cash Luna. They're our distribution partner across Guatemala. In Africa, it's the Children's Hunger Fund. In the Philippines, it's Convoy of Hope. So different organizations that are set up to distribute these types of products to the world's most vulnerable children. So all of that has been in place, and we've evolved and developed over the last 15 years. So you take the manufacturing partner, the quality technology that we put into it, it's all standardized according to the USDA's recommended daily value for malnourished children. It meets 100% of those qualifications. So it's truly one of the most unique whole food products in the marketplace, and the quality is just unsurpassed in terms of the value that we bring, consumers around the world.
Absolutely, and I know that you do such an incredible job talking about social entrepreneurship, and you mentioned one article, Can Entrepreneurs Save the World? Social entrepreneurship can really be summed up by giving everyone the ability to do well by doing good. And one of the things that I've always looked at in business for the last 20 years is take a look around you at the current credibility that's in the market, and that's one of the exciting things that we can bring to the world. Everyone listening here on the call tonight is social entrepreneurship is not a cottage philosophy anymore. It's literally becoming more and more mainstream, and a lot of us, we have been participating with some social entrepreneurship as compassionate consumers. And I think it's safe to assume most of us on the line have probably heard of Tom Shoes, who I think has really broken out into mainstream and made social entrepreneurship awareness, visible for literally millions of people around the world, even though some of them might not understand the business model behind it. But we're participating with Tom Shoes as a consumer that's helping the world. And what we're really been able to do at the EMSquared project is come into the marketplace and give every entrepreneur a platform to where they can plug into the platform and they can also reap the rewards just like Tom does by doing good for the world. And you know, Tom's Shoes has been a phenomenal success. It's a great success story on our business model. They put 10 million shoes on kids' feet in over 60 different countries. And we're wanting to use a very similar strategy, but what we're doing is putting you in the equation as the entrepreneur to go out and to see what your reach is around the world to help save kids' lives and save children's lives. And one of those articles, Sam, I know that when you and I, when we were flying to Mexico several months ago to make one of the very first visits to the manufacturing facility, you know, on the bars, I remember you talking about Inc. magazine and really how it defines social entrepreneurship as it has to, the company has to be seated as the solution to a problem. And if you could just take a few minutes, because I know that you've had a phenomenal business career. You know, you always implemented cause marketing or a give back program within your business, but kind of talk about how this is an evolution from where you were to what social entrepreneurship truly is, and kind of give them a little bit of perspective on what that article and how it defined what true social entrepreneurship is, if you don't mind.
Sure. Well, you know, I think what a lot of people got attracted to over the last several decades is what's called cause marketing. And, you know, that's when you run a business and you're willing to be a good steward in the community that you live in by sharing some of your profits for worthy causes. And there's tons of those around, and they're all wonderful. Social entrepreneurship is different in that it's much more dynamic. It's designed to take on global issues and use the marketplace to completely create sustainability to that problem. So it's not a portion of the profit that goes for a cause. It is the purpose of the business. Inc. magazine said the model works best when the product being sold is the trigger for social change. So we don't sell tires so that we can feed kids. You know, we bring the most nutritionally dense food product into the marketplace in a very timely method, because the whole food industry is exploding worldwide as more and more people realize the benefits of whole food. The second thing that makes the model work best is when there is a market for your product, which again, you know, whole food components, whole food food products, bars, things like that, absolutely on the rise all over the world. And then finally, it said you can't be able to separate, you know, the mission of what you're doing from your business, like a Tom Shoes. In fact, it used that example. But here's what's exciting, is far along as social entrepreneurship has come, it's still evolving, and we're about to enter the next phase of it. In one of the books that I read, it said social entrepreneurship 1.0 was the recognition that entrepreneurs could bring technology solutions that truly could address global problems. 2.0 was putting infrastructure around these entrepreneurs so the scalability of their technologies and their ideas could meet the needs of millions of people within regions of the world. But it said, but 3.0 will be coming in the future. And 3.0 will be entrepreneurs that have the ability to tap into the change-making potential of all people, you know, by helping them build teams of teams that can accelerate their solutions worldwide. And so when we were talking about this last summer in Mexico, that we'd like to create a worldwide network of compassionate people, Muhammad Yunus says, you know, that's the future of this industry. Nobody's figured it out yet. You know, all of these projects have been regionalized and met the needs of millions of people, but we're still waiting to see somebody link people up all over the world for a common cause and dedicate its entire resource base to that cause. And guys, that's what EMSquared is, and that's what's so exciting about this. We're not only going to impact the lives of children, we're going to change and evolve an industry that could lead truly to global impact in several different areas of global challenges. So it's exciting to be a part of a project that has that kind of potential.
No, absolutely, and I really believe that it's a concept whose time has come, and like you said, we're on the front end of the evolution of it. As the world starts adopting, and I think really society as a whole is becoming more aware of the good that they're doing for the planet, the good that they're doing for others, and the initial problem that we've looked to take on that I think is really important for people to understand is malnutrition, and there's a big difference in malnutrition and starvation. And the reality of it is a child dies every 6 seconds from malnutrition. That's 1/3 of all childhood deaths around the world are linked to it. And not only do children suffer from it, but adults as well. And Sam, if you could just give us a little bit of perspective, and I know you and I have had this conversation a lot because TV ads and a lot of different, organizations. There's a lot of people doing a lot out there in the world with, feeding kids and donating, and all of it is a great contribution. But give us a little bit of contrast on starvation versus malnutrition, and then also talk a little bit more in depth about, our whole food bar as the solution to the malnutrition problem and why that is.
Well, as recently as 10 years ago, we looked at the problem as a hunger problem. So we saw starving children all over the world, and, to give temporary relief to starvation, you just need calories. And so, again, that fostered this entire industry of relief food. And the U.S. government sends about $2 billion a year of what is called enriched grain-based cereal. So, it's the least expensive food commodities, rice and beans, things like that, enriched with synthetically made vitamins, the least expensive nutrient base that you could possibly imagine. And they started sending that around the world, and listen, everybody's intentions were good. The problem is these kids were still dying of malnutrition. And so Doctors Without Borders, a little less than 10 years ago, was the first international organization that brought that issue to the forefront, and they launched a campaign that was entitled "Food is Not Enough." What they're saying is, listen, we're on the front lines with these kids. Giving temporary relief to hunger is one thing, but gosh, these kids are still dying of all these malnutrition-related issues. So we need nutrient-dense, ready-to-use food products. And that's a whole new category of relief food that was created as a result of that. And it's exactly what it says, nutrient-dense. In other words, there's a formula for vitamins, minerals, micronutrients that are necessary to adequately nourish a child for a whole day. And if you put that in whole food ingredients instead of heavily processed ingredients, then it's the absolute best way to feed a starving and malnourished child and make a true impact. And so we adopted the formula that is used by UNICEF. And the only thing that we did differently with our food product is instead of using synthetically made vitamins and minerals, we used the most advanced technologies for using food-based vitamins and minerals. And there's just a huge difference in how the human body utilizes food versus chemical isolates. And so that's the product that we sell in the marketplace, and that's the product that is donated to children.
Absolutely. Well, and if you could talk just a little bit about the Hope Bar. I know one of our strategies was making sure that we brought a product to market that was at retail price, but also at the same time being able to deliver too, right? Where we could actually feed a child when a consumer bought one. Talk to us a little bit, if you don't mind, about the price point. How much is the Hope Bar going to cost, and the market appeal of it?
Well, in the market, when you look at food bars, there's three categories. There's the snack bars that are like heavily processed foods. They're kind of like chips. There's very little nutritional value at all, but they just satisfy the need to snack. Then you get into the whole food bar market, and that's where you can find at Whole Foods and Sprouts and places. And those bars generally range between $1.50 and $2 a bar because they're made with whole food ingredients. Then you get into what are called standardized bars. And these are bars that standardize nutritional value, like a protein bar would have a standardized level of protein. And every once in a while, you'll see a standardized nutritional bar. In other words, there's a standardized level of vitamins and minerals combined with whole food ingredients. But up to this point, those bars have been standardized with synthetically made vitamins and minerals. Again, they're inexpensive, and they're easy to standardize, and the consumer doesn't know any different. And so what our unique proposition to the consumer market is we'll not only provide you a whole food bar, we'll standardize it with whole food ingredients. So standardized bars are typically $2 to $3.50, depending upon what they're being standardized for. And so ours is competitively priced at $2.50. So it's a whole food bar standardized with vitamins, minerals, and protein for that too. So $2.50. So we're exactly right there in the very heart of the retail model. So we're competitive. And then what we do is we donate a bar of exactly the same nutritional value to children in need using the exact same ingredients. The only difference between the Hope bar that we sell into the marketplace here in America and the ones that we give kids are some flavors, because our manufacturer in Mexico has made food bars they make 16 million bars a year for schools in Mexico that are just protein bars. And they said, we spent a decade trying to figure out not necessarily what we prefer, but what kids would be willing to eat. And so we pretty much just leveraged their experience for making a standardized whole food bar that kids like and will eat on a daily basis. So that's kind of the profile of the bar, and it's a very unique and valuable bar in the marketplace.
Absolutely, and I know that this summer we're going to be starting what we're calling our pilot program, which is really phase one of introducing our social entrepreneurship platform to the world and inviting people to come in and be supporters or be ambassadors for the EMSquared project, to where they can truly be a hero for hope and really help us champion this cause. And we talk a lot about Muhammad Yunus and the impact he's had, where he really won a Nobel Prize by showing the power of people really in that country and in localized areas. And one of the things that we've been talking a lot about, and even on this call tonight, hopefully everyone really gets a full perspective, and hopefully you see what we see and believe what we believe, that we can harness this power of people by using technology and rewarding you real time, where you can see the reach that you have on the world, and you can see how many kids that you're feeding by developing a community of people that inviting them to help you champion the cause. And you're going to see that real time through our platform, where, based on whether you're helping link a monthly supporter to the EMSquared project, or whether you're out there indirectly developing a team and a community around the world, you're going to get rewarded for that. And I know that next week is going to be a monumental week, and Sam, and know that we've kept you on the phone for quite some time tonight. I know you love sharing the story and your excitement, but any closing remarks of really a little bit of your vision and for the next week and the upcoming phase one, and what people can expect through this phase one process that we're going through over the next several months and over the summer?
Well, we're using this phase one program over the summer to do a couple of things. Number one, to truly establish a culture of giving in this company. A lot of organizations that people join, that network people together, whether it's in the country or around the world, are not necessarily giving organizations. And so we first and foremost want to establish a culture of giving, because that's how this whole thing gets facilitated. And so what we're asking people to do during this first phase is, when you purchase the boxes of bars, donate them throughout the summer. The second thing that does is that builds a huge inventory of boxes. We'd like to get enough boxes of bars to feed 250,000 children, and then do an official launch at the Fox Center in Leon, Mexico, with President Fox and his wife, to announce, not to Mexico, but to the world, a press conference to the world that says there is a global initiative that is just being launched, and we're starting off with enough product to feed 250,000 children, and it's just going to grow from here, and we'd love to invite people to participate. So that's kind of what the plan is for the summer, is to use our model to create a donation base throughout the summer so that we can impact as many kids as we possibly can when we do our grand launch. And, you know, listen, just from my perspective, this is the most unique opportunity that I've ever been a part of. And I've been in business all my life. I've been an entrepreneur. I've built international companies that have done hundreds of millions of dollars of business a year. But nothing was ever as fulfilling to me as the day the lady from the orphanage organization in Romania came up and said, for the first time, no children died in our orphanage. I'm telling you guys, this will change your life. You know, this will not only impact the kids of the world, it will impact you. It will impact your children. It will be a legacy that we as an organization will pass on to other organizations, you know, to our own children, and say that we helped create the first global distribution model in social entrepreneurship, a model that brought change to the world in the 21st century. And listen, that sounds very optimistic, but I'm going to tell you something, guys. We can do this. You know, I mean, I know that this model will work. I know that you can't retrofit a company with this. You have to start off brand new and do this intentionally. You know, Florsheim Shoes couldn't have shifted in the middle of their business model to give away shoes. Blake Mikowski started a shoe company to do exactly what he's doing. And so that's what we have the opportunity to do, start something new that will radically change the world. And we all get to play a part in it. I mean, that is so exciting to me, and I think will be to you.
Absolutely. Well, Sam, thanks so much for your time. And I want to close out the call and just give everyone a little bit of perspective. And, you know, number one, I know Sam's very humble and modest from what he's been able to accomplish in business. But over the last couple of decades, he's done over $4 billion in global sales around the world. And the only reason I'm saying that to any guests that are listening in is not to impress you, because we're not here to talk about all Sam's accomplishments in business, but really, you know, hopefully seeding you to where his heart is and where his passion is, and that is to really champion and be a pioneer for social entrepreneurship. And that's where each and every one of you sit today. And there's nothing wrong with being rewarded for doing good in the world. And, you know, not only do I believe we're going to have some incredible financial rewards for people as we start eliminating malnutrition, but, you know, the rewards and tangibility that we're going to get just from going over and experiencing, visiting the orphanages and seeing the love and the excitement in these kids' eyes when you just show up and give them a little piece of yourself. It's not only amazing, but it's something that will, like Sam said, allow you to bring back to your communities here in the United States or wherever you live, and truly create global change from a perspective that I think the world is ready and waiting for, because we all have an impact. We all have an effect. And literally, if you just save one life, you just had an epic win, and you don't know what that can do. And that causes a chain reaction that will go around the world. And so how you can participate with this model is everyone around the world can participate. You know, and we have 3 different ways to participate. Donors, obviously, we match any donation. That's a one-time donation. But the base of our program is really focused on supporters. What I mean by supporters, that's monthly supporters. It's individuals that want to pledge to feed a child every single month. And they can do that by enjoying a box of Hope Bars for $75 a month. They would buy a box that has 30 bars, and they could enjoy it themselves as a compassionate consumer, or they could choose to give that box to where they feed 2 children. Now, supporters is the base of our program. It's what Sam just talked to you about we want to link 6 million supporters, because that's a monthly support, to 6 million kids in need, and that's how we end malnutrition. And that starts with you just sharing this with one person. And, you know, if you really caught the spirit of social entrepreneurship and you want to help be an ambassador to social entrepreneurship, then we want you to become an ambassador for the EMSquared project. You know, ambassadors also support the cause. They pledge to feed a child every single month with the monthly support, but they would also pay $49 for our annual social entrepreneurship platform. That's the platform you can log into, see the dashboard, see the reach that you're having on the world, see how many kids are being fed because of what you're sharing, both directly and indirectly. You'll see your ripple effect. And regardless of how many people participate, you all have the ability to earn hearts by just sharing this with other people around the world. And that's how we reward you. Our virtual currency is hearts. And each heart, though, has a value. Each heart has a value. Each heart is worth $1 for all of our ambassadors. And then for those that really want to accelerate the giving, then we have a hero campaign promotion that we're initiating. Once people decide to join the cause, a hero decides to feed 5 kids, a one-time fee, plus take on the monthly support, pledging to feed a child. And then they would also be the ambassador fee. And so what we're going to ask you next week to do is really help us champion the cause, because this movement starts with you. Yes, President Fox created this concept. He created this company because of his collaboration. And that's where we came in. We helped, really get this platform to where we can all have an opportunity to plug in. And then with Sam's vision and his heart for really this epidemic, we believe that we have a formula that just literally, won't be stopped. But the foundation of everything that we're doing starts with you. And that's one of the reasons we've kept this very tight to the vest over the last several months, because we understand that there's going to be an incredible movement, but we want to make sure that the foundation is seated with people radical about really doing something that matters. And so next week, the process is going to start. What we'll do is you'll get a link from someone that invited you to help champion the cause, and decide whether you want to be a supporter or whether you want to be an ambassador or even take on the hero to really help us with that challenge. And once again, I just wanted to reiterate, during our pilot program, phase 1, heroes will be able to keep 1 box of Hope Bars, and then everyone else, all of the supporters, we will be donating every other box to make sure that we get as many children fed up through the summer months as possible. And so we're inviting you to be a part of the pilot program. And with that, here's how the rewards work. It's very simple. I've gotten several questions on this, and we're going to go into more detail on this next week, and you'll be able to see an animated rewards strategy to show you how you can earn more and more hearts by feeding kids. And that's the really cool thing about this program. I want you all to think about it. I mean, the more kids that are fed, the more rewards you receive, which means the more profit you can make, or what you do with your hearts is up to you. You can actually take your hearts, and we'll have approved EMSquared charities that you can actually just donate them, donate the hearts to that charity in dollars that would be in your name. So, we've all heard the philosophy, give and it is given to you. Well, that's exactly what EMSquared is about. And so what you do is you have the ability to earn hearts for going out and personally connecting supporters to the cause. Go out in your community, ask business people, ask churches if they'll pledge to feed 1 child, 2 child, 3 child, 4 children. And you're going to get rewarded hearts for every child that you personally get fed. And then you also have the ability to build a community. And in order to build a community, you start 2 teams with our project, and you can have an infinite number of teams. And our system tracks how many kids are being fed through each person you personally connect to our platform. And through that, you earn achievements. When 20 kids are fed, you'll get an achievement award of 80 hearts, for instance. When 50 kids are fed through that team, not just you personally, but through that team and community, you'll get rewarded, another 180 hearts, for instance. So it tracks both your direct influence on feeding kids and also your indirect by the reach that you have in the world by personally connecting people and starting a community. So you get achievement bonuses which give you hearts, as well as you'll get rewarded for every child that you are responsible for helping feed, both directly and indirectly. So we're super excited about it. We've been going through this rollout strategy, and next week is the start of our pilot program. And the goal is to feed 250,000 kids, get pledges of monthly supporters, that will be ramping up to where we have over 100,000 kids per month being fed. This is a monthly program. That's how you create sustainable giving. And, you know, we appreciate your all's time tonight. Definitely appreciate you, Sam Castor. And one of the things that we'll be doing over the next 4 or 5 months is we're going to give everyone that comes on board as an ambassador to the EMSquared project the ability to experience what we've experienced on some of these mission trips. You can see the pictures in the background by going and visiting with President Fox and his wife, and going over to Mexico to some of the initial orphanages that we'll be helping support. And we look forward to seeing you all on those mission trips. And, you know, a huge thank you as well to Peter. A lot of you are going to have an opportunity to meet Peter. He was an individual that really helped connect all the dots, introduced Sam to President Fox years ago, came and introduced myself and some other partners in the company to Sam. And he really helped connect all the dots to make this possible. He, too, has a book out on social entrepreneurship and has really been a pioneer for this entire movement that you all heard about tonight. And so with that being said, champion this cause with us. Let's all do something that matters. We look forward to starting with you. We know that this conversation has been lengthy tonight, but hopefully it gave you a lot of validation, a lot of certainty on what we're getting ready to start, and we look forward to starting it with you. So with that being said, tune in. We will have a couple more conversations that you can plug into over the next 72 hours. In order to get updates, this is a company site. Just go put in your email address and name. That information will not be used, resold. Literally, once we start this program, all that you won't be receiving any more information from Hero for Hope. But plug in there and to give you some education on social entrepreneurship, some current credibility, validation, but it also will give you notification of upcoming events that we're going to be doing over the course of the next 72 hours and getting into the early part of next week. So with that being said, we've kept you a long time. Appreciate it. Appreciate Michael Rutherford, Sam Castor once again. Thanks for all that you've done. Thanks for your heart. You and your wife really, you know, as you all kept moving forward for this crusade and the evolution of truly helping in malnutrition. And so we're going to do that together. And with that being said, everyone have a wonderful evening, good night, and God bless.